live on Facebook, Nigeria Info PH. We are live on YouTube as well, Nigeria Info PH, and we are active on X, Nigeria Info PH. Okay, so a couple of days ago or weeks ago, we were told by the government, which by the way caused a bit of some debate, we're told by the governor that IGR, internally generated revenue in River State, increased from somewhere around the region of 12-13 billion to somewhere around the region of 25, 26, 27 billion, right? So we celebrated and we said, that could mean that, more money for the state to do, more work. But then what is more work? When you also look at the federal allocation that comes in at the end of every month, River State is amongst the top states that, collects from the community purse, so to say. And one would wonder, what should development look like? When you also think about it, although there is the argument as to whether we have been receiving the 13% oil derivative, but when you also look at it, River State is number 2, or is it number 3? I know we top 3. We are in the same corridors with Delta and Akwa Ibom as to the oil producing states. What are we really doing with these funds, or what have we done with these funds? Is what we should be talking about in the year 2024. By the way, was it yesterday or the day before, the office of the governor came up with a circular showcasing or highlighting what the governor would be commissioning or flagging off to mark 1 year in office. So we would look at all of that. We would examine as to whether these are the developments or developmental parts that we should be towing, or if we should have done better. We would also look back to, Orderly's time, Amechi's time, all of these other people, and also take a peep at what the SSP did during Old River State. And to help me have this conversation, I do have a doctor, and he goes by the name Ibilolia Samuel-Horsfall, and he's joining me via the phone from, I think, the United States. Welcome on the show. Can you hear me? And good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Khaled. I can hear you loud and clear.
All right.
Good afternoon, everybody listening.
All right. So welcome on the show. So you must have heard my introduction, I believe. And let's start with, what do you make of some of the, flag-offs and commissioning that will happen to mark the 1 year in office of Governor? For example, on Tuesday, 14 May, there will be the commissioning of a road at Aleto Ebubu. Same with Wednesday, the 15th. Andoni Opobo Unity Road will be also commissioned. There will be a flag off on the 16th at Elele Omok Road. Commissioning of MOR Calabari Road on the 7th. On the 20th, which is a Monday, there will be the commissioning of another road. On Tuesday, there will be commissioning of Phase 1 of the Port Harcourt Electrical Village and flag off of Phase 2 of same at Irebe. Wednesday, River State Economic Investment Summit. Friday, flag off of Okania Ogbogoro Road. And Saturday, commissioning of the Dual Alliance Omok Egbima Road. Monday, Children's Day, Monday the 27th, Children's Day events. And Tuesday, 28th, launching of Youth Development Program. 29th, account of stewardship. So when you look at all of it, it looks like majority of the events, majority of them are road construction, which is not such a bad thing. But, is this the right path we should have traveled on in the past 1 year?
Well, if you'll allow me, Kalada, one of the things that I'll want to at least state that is not listed there is security. Because without security, or at least the sense of security, peace, stability, there will be no progress. You can build mountain roads. It's one of the easiest things to do on the planet if you have funds. you can build roads, you can build bridges, but if there is no security or peace in the state or in the community, there will be no progress, right? So one of the things that I want to start with as regards to why I respect what the governor has done in keeping a level head, a calm head in the midst, amid all of this crisis or crises going on, is to give the state a sense of security and peace of mind, or at least peace, a sense of it, because things could have gotten really ugly if he wasn't a level-headed man. Now that's for that.
But really, no.
I also find that.
Let me pause you. Is that really for that? Because I mean, in Rivers State, there have been accusations that there is really no peace. Former Commissioner for Justice, has even come out to say that the governor has been pretending to be a peaceful person, but in reality, he has been stoking the fire. So, do we really have peace? There have been, resignations. There have been, of course, the governor was at the assembly quarters. There is a factionalized assembly. Do we really have peace?
Kind of like you're a Rivers man, and your your audiences. I mean, they're Rivers people. Do you think if this was Governor Wike or Governor Amechi in power, and somebody, say Orderly, was somewhere trying to impose his will on Governor Amechi, or Amechi was somewhere trying to impose his will on Wike, do you really think we will be having this level of calm? Like, we've gone through things in River State before, and we've seen real violence. Like Nigerian people say, violence. Like, we've seen that. If Governor Fubara chose to exert all of his powers, influence on this, this siege that it appears, or the state, people will be talking about this, that, and the other. My brother, relative to other administrations have through and to exert their power and force, we cannot, we'll be lying and deceiving ourselves if we say that Governor Fubara has not followed the path of peace.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. So, and if you listen to his comments on the day he declared that the IGR had doubled, like he said, it had increased by 100%. One of the core tenets of his conversation that day was security, peace, a sense of it. When he was addressing the delegates that came for that event, where he unveiled what has been going on in the state and the IGR, where it was 12 billion, the highest was 12 billion during Governor Wike's tenure, and then for 1 year, now we're talking about 26 to 27 billion just for IGR. Peace and security were key things he kept mentioning that day. And brother, even if I was a governor, for instance, I may not have been this tolerant with people who are just causing a nuisance or a menace to the state. So that's for that. I was trying to highlight, because look, again, we build bridges, we build roads, we build infrastructure. Well, what is the infrastructure there to serve? That's the question, right? You can build 1,000 schools. Well, if you don't have teachers to teach, and the pupils cannot actually attend and get quality education, it's you've just put blocks in a place and put things there for the heck of it, right? If you build 1,000 hospital centers, healthcare centers, and there are no doctors and nurses, and it's not properly equipped with all of the less necessary tools that are needed, what have you done? You've just done another thing. So I would take that into the roads I'm seeing here on this list of things that you aptly mentioned when you were doing your introduction. So compare, my brother, think about this for a second. I go to Rumola Road, which was an already well created road, and I expand it and make it wider. What is that serving economically? If I go to Aba Road or Transamadi Road, which already was a road that existed even before I was born, and it was very motorable. If you needed to do certain repairs, do repairs, and I expand it and make it more beautiful, what economic value does that add to the state? Now, these are the kinds of projects we saw mostly in the last tenure. A lot of roads were expanded, a lot of bridges were built, and people called the ex-governor Mr. Project. And every time I came back home and I went past this, I was like, okay, did anybody do an analysis of impact analysis? This road is being built, fine. Billions of naira are being spent building this road. And by building, I mean expanding, making more beautiful, making more motorable. What is the impact on the people? Well, we're reducing traffic and go slow. Really? That's why you spend billions of naira to reduce traffic.
What would have been the alternative? I mean, because people were spending hours in traffic.
Decongest Port Harcourt. Every River State is not Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt is part of River State. These look at the roads we're about. The Governor Fubara is about to commission. We're talking about link roads. I mean, think about it for a second. When I go to a place, let's look at Lagos State for instance. Lagos State has Ikeja, thriving. Ikeja could have been another Bunny. Ikeja could have been another Opobo. Ikeja could have been another Bori. But everything is centered in Port Harcourt, and we're all just congested in that place. So what do you want to do? If you're a smart, intelligent, strategic thinker and businessman or economically minded governor or head of whatever, what you want to do is establish satellite cities and towns where things can thrive and go on to look. Aja, I remember when Aja in Lagos State was just bush. Now we have malls there, we have businesses thriving there, we have things going on there.
Okay,
Lagos State is not. Do you understand?
Yeah, I do, but we do have a commercial, so I would have to pause you for a bit. But
Go ahead.
in defense of the last administration, some of these projects started in that administration. But let's go for a commercial break. When we do come back, we'll continue the conversation. Please do stay tuned.
All right.
Great.
It's gone past the hour of 4. I am Kala Dakorubatbor, and with me is Dr. Ibilolia Samuel-Horsfall, a socio-political commentator, and together we are measuring the development in Rivers State. Welcome back, Lulia, or Dr. Lulia. I believe I can call you that. Welcome back on the show.
You're fine, brother.
Yeah. So before we went on the break, you were measuring and you were saying now some of these constructions being made, nobody really takes out time to figure out what the impact would be, right? But then again, you then said some of the roads that will be commissioned and flagged off, marking the 1-year anniversary of the governor, are link roads, which means that they are setting up the development of satellite towns and cities. Your words. And then I was trying to say, in defense of the previous government, some of these projects were started then. But really, is it just construction of roads that would bring about the development of the satellite towns and the satellite cities?
No, of course not. It's not just that. But we do know that access is one of the key indicators of at least the intent for growth, the intent for development. If people can't access whatever is there, then you cannot talk about development. And I'll say this, because it's very important that everybody understands this. It is not the sole duty of government to ensure development in a place.
Okay.
It is not. Government's responsibility is to create opportunities, let's call it the atmosphere, provide infrastructure, and then the innovation, the tenacity, the creativity, the drive, the entrepreneurship of the citizens kick in, and then begin to utilize these infrastructure to develop the place. So I'm very keen on hammering on this, because when we talk about development of a place, and everybody thinks the sit-don't-look option is an option where we think government is responsible for development of our own communities, that is a tragedy of thought. So, yes, these roads, the way I see them, because I try to scrutinize this thing objectively, I'm like, okay, what is the meaning of this road that is being commissioned? And I see all of them are roads that either did not exist or are just beginning to exist, and they're all link roads. They're linking Bori, they're linking places that, my brother, Canada, if you go to these places, because I've been to some of these places, you'll be like, the contrast between certain places in the same river state and Port Harcourt is like night and day. It's like people are still living in the medieval times, where there is no electricity, there's no running water, and then we're talking about Port Harcourt, the Garden City, or talking about River City, treasure base of the nation. Like, you wonder, like, why is there this mad craze about Port Harcourt? And then every other part, the capital of Maryland, a lot of people will not know that the capital city of Maryland, that everybody, most people talk about, is Annapolis. Meanwhile, Baltimore is probably more popular than Annapolis. Meanwhile, Silver Spring is more popular than Annapolis. So the idea that the capital city needs to be the most thriving city is just bewildering to me. So in contrast, not just to the previous administration, but all the other administrations, the idea now that Governor Fubara's administration is indeed trying to, look, Omekwe Tarema, the community I come from, only had an access road like last year, where people can actually get to the community by road. Otherwise, it's been through water. And so you can imagine the level of underdevelopment that happened in that place. And there are several cities like that, not just in the riverine. I talked about Bori. Even in upland areas. Thankfully, granted, for the previous administration, certain places, certain other communities in the upland, like the quarry communities and all, where they opened up. Once roads were built, they were motorable, they were nice. It opened up places. People began to build houses there, have businesses there. That's what roads do. Well, the same should spread across the entire state. Let there be competitive growth. Let Obiako compete with Asaga. Let Asaga compete with Akoga. Let Akoga compete with, and let it be competition as in who is doing better in the sense of I want to outdo you in performance. So this is what I see listed out here that is in contrast. When we talk about measuring growth and development, this is what I see that is going to stand out in this administration is that people will begin to see light, not just at the end of the tunnel, but light come beaming in their communities. So if you're a lazy community, then be lazy for yourself. But the government will provide the roads, the access, and okay, for instance, let me take another thing that I admire about this list. Okay, it says the Rivers State Economic Investment Summit. What does that tell me? Looking from where I'm in the United States right now, what does that tell me? It tells me that this administration is thinking about economic growth. Canada, 15 years ago, I would say, maybe 10 years ago, River State, Port Harcourt especially, was competing favorably with Lagos and Abuja as far as some of the thriving cities in Nigeria. People talked about being from Port Harcourt as a thing, like, okay, we were part of the conversation. Unemployment rate in Port Harcourt in River State is one of the worst in the country. Foreign direct investment has departed in droves from the country. From the state. What are we talking about? Now, I'll reiterate what I said earlier. Port Harcourt is not River State.
Okay. I do have a question. Maybe we should define.
Go ahead.
Because you know, you've gone back as far as 10 years, 15 years, maybe even 1999. What did we get it wrong? It's the next question one would ask. But maybe we should have started by defining what development should be or what development should look like. And it's a great conversation with you on it because you're someone who has lived in River State. You are from River State and now in the United States. So there is some comparisons that can be made. You are in Maryland, like you said. So there are some comparisons that could be made. So what should be development? Looking at how it is over there and looking at how it is over here, what really is development and what really are we lacking?
I mean, if I want to go by conventional definitions where you're looking at indices or index, what are the things that define development in a society? You're talking about healthcare, you're talking about education, you're talking about, of course, infrastructure and access to all of these things. But in simple words, I would say development in a community or city or a state is simply progressive, sustainable growth of life. We talk about human life and other forms of life, and then advancement in infrastructure and how people access, utilize, and should I say promote the way of life of that place. This is my definition because my livestock, my children, my wife, my life is set health-wise. I can go to the Canada right now. I can give you one of my sisters. I'll say my sisters because she's from my community. She has been recently diagnosed of kidney failure. Okay, kidney failure. Imbre, this woman will most likely die if the family doesn't come up with millions of naira to ensure she lives, and that is by providing her renal transplant. Already she's being scheduled for dialysis that she would stay to survive. And this lady is barely 50 years old. Where I live right now, or where I am right now, because I also live more like 40 to 50% of my time in Nigeria, I come back and forth. Where I am right now, if a person is remotely diagnosed of kidney failure, we're not thinking death. He or she can call 911 or walk into a healthcare facility and be sure that that is not a death sentence. Can we boast of that in River State? No, we can't.
What now? Let's get it straight. Now,
What went wrong?
Not what went wrong. How is it that person in the United States can walk into a health facility and be catered for? What is the secret?
That's a brilliant question. That's a brilliant question. It's so, but Canada, you couldn't have asked it for me more. Look, public-private partnership.
Interesting.
The Maryland government or Virginia government does not own, and by own I mean is not 100% responsible for any healthcare facility or even educational facility except primary school, that's high school, junior and all. From college and up, most of the Harvard University, the great university, even University of Maryland, is not the prime responsibility of the state. So what did we get wrong? Now, this is America. I can give you the analysis with the UK or Canada where healthcare is run by the government. Now, it's run by the government, but I can assure you that a lot of the funding that comes into these systems are from private institutions, either through taxes, and then the utilization of these taxes, or NGOs and organizations take over the running of these facilities and the government just provides the funds. So why can't I or anybody here walk into a place and say, I have an emergency, I have to be treated? It's because it is a key indicator of growth and development. These people take life seriously. And then they formed a system, a structure that ensures, look, like I said earlier, you can build a hospital like with the most beautiful paint, concrete. You can even put an MRI, CT scan, and whatnot there. But if you do not have a system in place that would ensure that this thing actually functions, and functions absent of any other interference from politics and whatnot, I tell you the truth, the governor of Maryland, Mr. Westmore, can travel overseas and spend 8 years in that place. Maryland will continue running without a slight stop in its daily activities. Systems are what ensure growth. Systems are what ensure capacity to perform. Okay. Not human beings.
Okay. Now that you've defined this, and I like the way you've defined it, because for some people, I want to believe it's an eye opener. Because all we've done for the past 3-4 weeks has been talking politics. But now that you've defined it like this, can we then go back and say that we have focused on roads too much, that we have left what is necessary, which is setting up systems, like not just building hospitals and schools that are now left to decay, but to ensure that there are systems? And if you say yes, that that is the case, then what can we do to build systems? 1999 up until now is 25 years, thereabout. And River State is still where it is. We have how old are we now? I think we were created in 1967, to do the calculations. And we're still where we are. And, it's something that we need to talk about. So how do we create the systems if we are lacking systems?
The one thing it's a two-part answer I'll give, and I'm by no way an authority in this, but I'll tell you what I know from experience and whatnot. It's two parts of it. One, and which is key for me, is that Riverians or Rivers people, we need to learn to take ownership of what we have. Now, that means holding government and its officials accountable to us. Because I will tell you, there are documents that describe systems but when the rule of law applies only to a few, and one man can get up and say, Namibia Oga now, and completely ignore everything that is either in place or can be in place, because he believes that he can go scot-free if he abuses that power of office or privilege of office, You cannot. You can have. You can write it down. You can talk about it from now to the heavens fall. It will not work. Which is why I said security, or the sense of security, is one of the key things. If Governor Fubara knows that if he messes up, if he doesn't do what he is there to do, he will be held accountable from him. If you, Kalada, if me, I know, if the House of Assembly member, if we know that there are repercussions for breaking a law or breaking something that is in place to work, and we say, don't touch it, it is sacrilegious to touch this matter, leave it alone, you will find that the systems we're talking about will actually work. It's not the absence of the know-how. Nigerians are smart. We know that. We know what to do. It's not that we don't know. The problem is people intentionally ignore what should be because they believe they can. And indeed they can. And so you can never find functionality in that kind of environment. That's one.
Okay, let's get to the second one then.
The second one now is the part of political will. So I talked about the individuals holding themselves accountable, holding government. Now, political will, where we elect, or people who are elected officials say, all right, this is the vision. This is the ideology. This is, for instance, Governor Fubara listed 3 core things that he wanted to emphasize in his tenure. I don't know if you remember. He talked about agriculture. Mm-hmm. He talked about education. Mm-hmm. He talked about healthcare. He defined it. He said these are 3. He said roads will be built, and his words were quite apt in that sense. He said few roads will be built, though. In other words, he de-emphasized the issue of road building, because Governor Amechi built roads, for Christ's sake. Governor Wike built roads, expanded roads, and our people are still poor and suffering from lack of opportunities. So he said it, but he de-emphasized. He said these other 3 things, because Kalada, how did the IGR increase from 12 billion to 27 or 26 billion? The answer was right there. Not because we increased capacity of production or whatever. No, our food capacity did not increase. He just plugged some holes. So you increase, let's say you increase dividend or yield either by increasing production capacity or reducing waste, right? So he's saying that from just reducing waste, plugging holes here and there, we're able to double our IGR. This is within a year. That's how they were able to increase that. Then you now talk about increasing it even further by now increasing capacity to produce, which is now through infrastructure, through loans and credit facilities, which are already things that are being done within this 1 year.
Okay.
Because if people can't access, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
go ahead.
I need to pause here because time is running really fast. We have a few more minutes left. So I want to throw this question at you. Now, if you say building system is, one major way to ensure and guarantee development, and of course you define development as being, the things that will bring about the improvement in the living conditions of people, growth, in healthcare, in education, it means that we've gotten the formula wrong from the get-go, from 1999, if I must say. Yes, they've built roads. Yes, they've expanded cities, which is good in itself. What then is the right formula, or what then is the right path to toe? Should we now see government put up industries and, negotiate with private sectors or private companies? Should we see government build refineries? Basically, should we be looking at revenue generation entities or institutions instead of building roads? Then when we make the money, just a thought that occurred to me. I want to throw it at you.
You already answered it. So I will not say, look, in building these roads, I need to emphasize the fact that Port Harcourt needs to be decongested. So these roads are needed right now, these ones, and even a few more in those areas. Okay? none of these roads here are talking about building more roads and expanding more roads in Port Harcourt. So those roads are needed. For Bunny to become the kind of city that it should be, there should be a road that links Bunny to the rest of the state. I mean, roads are that critical. So we need roads. And we need roads that are strategically built or created that would ensure economic growth, not convenience alone. Economic growth. So it's critically important we have those roads and bridges in those strategic areas. I mean, for crying out loud, the man that is growing cassava in Ikwere should not just roads, even the rail system, modes of transportation for transporting these things from point A to point B. So the cost of Gary, we're there abundant before for our place. Like the whole thing is like, how do I grow my cassava to the point that I can sell within my community and export out to other communities? How do these communities easily get this cassava? How then do they transform it to tapioca or Gary or or medicines or whatever it is that they want to do with cassava, and so forth and so on. So you answered the question very aptly when you said there are a few things we got wrong from 1999, and we're suffering for it till today, which is why I am entrenched. I'm throwing myself into this whole saga of politics. I know you don't want to talk about politics, and I will not in that sense. But here's what we need to do, I think. One, Governor Fubara and those around him should think like businessmen. I would always say there are three kinds of people I would love to see lead any community. Successful businessmen, meaning people that know how to make decisions to make money, to create something out of nothing. Businessmen. Two, soldiers, people who have thought, who know that, okay, I can stand to defend this community with my life. I know how to strategize. I know how to keep the enemy away. And then I also know what it means to have peace. Because sometimes we take this peace thing for granted because we've not seen war. Those who have seen war oftentimes want to prevent it from happening unless you're an egomaniac or something. That's two. Thirdly, funny enough, as much as it annoys me to say it, lawyers, people who know the law but are good-hearted enough to say, we will abide to the rule of law like I know it, so that everybody can live in a sense of harmony. So we need to have more private partnerships. The government cannot feed everybody, cannot do all the work by itself, cannot pay all the salaries for the healthcare workers, all the salaries for the teachers. Come on, it's too much for government to handle. We're biting more than we can chew. So that is one way.
But then again, government, since you say it's too cumbersome for government to, hold all of these development or all of these sectors in terms of development, isn't it also the role of the government to see how it can bring in investors?
It is. That's what I was coming to. What I was going to. After that, you need investors. You need to have the aptitude to lure in and pretty much create an allure for investors to say, I want to go and do business. I'll give you an instance. I'll give you an example. Amazon, the great Amazon that started by Jeff Bezos and his partners, has moved I think from California, they have a huge facility in Virginia. In one of the cities in Virginia, you will not even think Amazon should be in. But what did that state do? What did the governor and his people do to lure Amazon? They said, look, Mr. Bezos, we know that you have one of the wealthiest companies in the world. Come here. We will make it tax-free for you for X amount of years. I'm giving an instance, right? Come. We will give you this, we'll give you that. Look, beg them. Grovel on their feet, because they are the ones that will increase your capacity for IGR. They will increase your ability to grow your people. They will provide you employment. Government can't employ everybody. So the governor and his people, like I said, and everyone who knows even me, myself, as a Nigerian in the diaspora, I should be able to say, hey, what cassava making? Okay, there's a company that does this stuff and that the other. Come to my place. Come to River State. I can talk to my governor, I can talk to this person, I can talk to that person, I can talk to my House of Assembly member, and we can put a package together so you can come and open a facility here. Well, what is it for? What's the incentive? Well, the incentive is that you're going to get cheap labor. Our people will work for, instead of paying someone $1,000 a month, you can pay them $500 a month. That's about what? 500,000 naira, and you get the same yield. In fact, you know what? We're going to make sure that there is a course in our universities or this skills acquisition program that will ensure that our people are skilled to assemble this your TV or assemble this your stuff. We need to be thinking outside the box and putting A to B and C. You know what I mean? So that people can say, I want to invest there. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, my time is up. I mean, I was enjoying the conversation, but when you get into Nigeria, maybe we should sit down, talk with Rivers people and see how we can push development in Rivers State. Anytime,
Calada.
All right.
I mean, Rivers man, core. Let's go.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Dr. Ibilolia Samuel-Horsfall. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, I'll take your contributions after the break or open season, whichever one works.
Say goodbye to charging fees with Infinix Note 40 fast charging. Ensure